I want to go now to geologist Gregory Wrightstone, author of Inconvenient Facts, the Science Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. Gregory, how was your Thanksgiving, sir?
Oh, really good. Really, really, really good. Got to be with the family and enjoyed a couple of them. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I'm very energized moving forward throughout the rest of the month. We were just talking a little bit about this. We're playing an old clip from Michael Bloomberg back in 2018 talking about banning sugary sodas. But, he's running for president, and I figure, Gregory, first of all, what do you think about it? And two, how committed is Michael Bloomberg to this climate change nonsense?
Well, he's been a long time proponent of this catastrophic man-made warming, and in fact, he's been the head of an international group called the Task Force on Climate Change. It's an international group, Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. So he's been at the forefront of this for a number of years. I don't agree with it, and what he wants to do with this thing is identify financial disclosure statements for companies on what they've invested in, for organizations, for various funds. Are they investing in fossil fuels or not? But I think a lot of people can see, including your listeners, can see right through this, because I think it's becoming really, really clear to any clear-thinking, rational, sane, I could probably add some more adjectives, individuals, that we're just not going to be able to get away from fossil fuels. He wants to go to a zero carbon footprint by 2050 or sooner, and it's just not going to happen with wind and solar. These things have a 20, maybe 30-year at the max lifespan for each one of these before they need replaced. It's a massive investment that's going to cost taxpayers, including every single one of your listeners, just huge amounts of money. It's estimated the Green New Deal by itself will cost $100 trillion over the first 10 years. And bear in mind, the federal budget is around $4 trillion, and they want to spend $100 trillion. So it's crazy talk what they're doing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And one of the clips that we were just playing, he talked about coal and how, it doesn't matter if the person loses their job because this is about life and death, and we need to choose life over that job, and they can, find something else to do. But my goodness, I look at my energy bills now, and I like heating my home with natural gas or electricity or whatever. And sometimes it can get pretty pricey as it is now. I don't think we could tolerate any more increase in energy prices.
Yeah, and if we just look, let's just take a look at Arkansas. If Arkansas reduced 100% of its CO2 emissions, the resultant change, and this is using their own numbers, and I've got this up at my website, you can go look for yourself. If we reduce 100%, it would be 0.0009. So that's, I can't even say, it's less than 1/1000th of a degree Fahrenheit by the year 2050. That's the change that this would make. Less than 1/1000th of a degree Fahrenheit by 2050. And it's well below anything we can measure. And that's if we reduced 100%. And if we look at the United States, if the United States reduced its emissions 100%, we would avert 0.07 of a degree Fahrenheit by 2050. Well, that it's so small, again, it can't even be measured. And this is what we're talking about. What they want to do with Michael Bloomberg and the others, they want to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, and they think that will change the temperature of the Earth. And even using their own statistics, it would be so slight as to be unmeasurable and closer to zero than anything that you could measure. And if we also look, the United States has reduced its CO2 emissions by 14% in the last 10 years. It's estimated that the increase from China alone, it completely blew that away in 45 days. So 45 days of increased CO2 emissions from China from coal-fired plants in 45 days has completely usurped and overwhelmed that 14% reduction we've seen. In other words, it completely wiped that out. And this is what China keeps doing. They keep increasing coal production, and they're not about to stop. Their coal and cheap electricity is going to drive their economy, and that's what they believe. They're paying lip service to things like the Paris Climate Accords, all the while thumbing their nose or maybe raising their middle finger to the Paris Climate Accords.
Yeah, that's what China does. I mean, you can make an agree. That's why if we ever do get a trade deal with them, we have no guarantee that they're going to go by it. You can't really trust the communist Chinese. And this is news to some people, but I don't think it's news to you, Gregory.
No, and India is in. I put India in a different category because they have. I think it's at 1.3 billion, 1.4 billion people, somewhere around there. Don't hold me to the exact tenths of a billion, but there's 600 million of those people are living in destitute, generational poverty. And Prime Minister Modi wants to lift those people up and he wants to do it. He's been pretty clear. He says we need to provide low-cost, abundant, reliable energy to the people of India in order to lift them up out of this generational poverty. And what he wants to do, too, they have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are living in India cooking over open wood, dried dung. There's an estimated 4 million people dying early death. A lot of those are women. They're cooking inside because they don't have access to fossil fuels to cook over. And those are 4 million deaths that could be easily averted by providing things like compressed natural gas, electric, propane, things like that. And I was just looking at a picture here, a woman in Nepal that had just had cataract surgery. Cataracts are rampant among these people that cook over, indoor cooking over dried dung and wood. Early death, she was 42 years old with cataracts, nearly blinded. And these are the things that AOC and Bloomberg, they don't understand the consequences of what they're proposing, the negative consequences on the poorest among us around the earth. And I'm not just talking, it's here in America, we don't have so much of this, but there are billions of people around the earth that are living in horrible poverty situations that could benefit greatly from low cost or reliable, abundant energy that we can get from fossil fuels.
Yeah, when you think about those numbers and you think about how much this technology that we take for granted, heating our homes, the energy that we have access to, how it would so help these other countries. And you have deaths that are happening now, and the left wants us to think about what might happen, in 9 years, 13 years, or in 2050 or wherever. And it's ridiculous. They're claiming that if we implement socialism, essentially, that we can control the weather. It's crazy,
It is. They think that the carbon dioxide is the control knob on the temperature of the Earth, and it's just not. And I'll just tell you, I'm a senior fellow with the Cornwall Alliance. It's a Christian group. You can find it at cornwall.org. Great group. But I'll just summarize their philosophy. It would be they believe we should use all of our resources, or they call it God's creation, all of our resources for the betterment of mankind, and do it as good stewards. So we want to use everything that we have to raise people up out of poverty, raise people up out of generational poverty, and do it in a responsible manner. And that's just common sense. Probably every one of your listeners is sitting there shaking their head going, yeah, I agree with that. It's hard to disagree, but a lot of people do. They don't want AOC and Bloomberg, they don't want to use all of our resources to benefit mankind. They want to restrict that and restrict our energy to expensive, intermittent, unreliable sources like wind and solar. And I really dislike solar, wind.
Yeah.
The turbines and just their blight on the landscape and extremely expensive.
Yeah, and that it's not like if the technology was more viable. I mean, if it produced the same amount of energy that these fossil fuels produce, I mean, it's fantastic. To each his own. But you remember Solyndra? I know you remember Solyndra. You
Oh,
had
sure.
this bundler, and then of course the video of them taking the solar panels from the warehouse when the company went bankrupt and throwing them into the dumpster because it was too expensive to keep them warehoused. I mean, that's to me when I think of solar, I think of Solyndra, I think of it just wasn't ready for market.
Well, and we're not people when they talk about solar and wind, they don't talk about the front end or the back end. The front end being we need these rare earth minerals and things like cobalt. Cobalt's being mined in the Congo, and if your listeners when they get off this or when they don't do it now, we want to keep you on the radio, but just Google cobalt and Congo, and you'll find about these 4,000 children under the age of 12 that are being used in these open pit cobalt mines to mine the minerals that are necessary for these solar panels. And it's not just there; it's horrible conditions in China mining rare earth minerals that are needed, and that's the front end of it that we don't hear. And then we look at the back end. What do you do with them? These things have a 20 to 30-year lifespan, both solar panels and wind turbines. The solar panels, you can't recycle them. They're going to have to go into hazardous because of all these things that are incorporated into panels, and you're going to have to recycle them. Where do they go? And then you get the wind turbines. It's becoming a huge problem with what to do with these giant turbines when they're done. You can put them in landfills, but they take up so much room. If you can imagine these giant turbines, they have to put them in the landfills, cut them up first, and then crush them with bulldozers or heavy equipment. And so they're again, we're not looking at the front end or the back end.
Yeah, I know. The Congo, I'm reading this, the cobalt mines in the Congo and these children, it's a whole new meeting to Greta Thunberg when she says that, her childhood's been stolen.
Yeah.
And she's from she's from Western civilization, and she would probably want all this solar stuff, and yet these kids are being exploited. So, Gregory Wrightstone, I appreciate you coming on. It's always great. Now, I want everybody to understand it's a great Christmas present, right? I mean, the inconvenient facts. Go ahead, real quick. Remind us.
Yeah, inconvenientfacts.xyz is the website. You can get it on Amazon. Just search for Inconvenient Facts. We're getting a lot of people looking to buy this for their father-in-law or father or mother. It'd be a great gift under the Christmas tree. It can serve to just enlighten that special person, and so it makes a great Christmas gift.
All right,
great book.
We appreciate it, Gregory. You have a blessed week, sir. We'll talk to you again soon. All righty, folks. We're going to take a break.